The officer's hand rested on his radio as he approached me at the altar. 200 guests watched in complete silence. My fiancé Jake's hand tightened on mine, and my mother stood at the back of the church with her phone still in her hand, wearing the most righteous expression I'd ever seen on her face. She'd just called 911 during my wedding vows, told them I was unstable, dangerous, that I'd stolen money and was holding my grandmother hostage. The officer looked uncomfortable, like he'd rather be anywhere else. "Ma'am," he said quietly, "I need you to come with me. We have some questions about financial elder abuse." My mother's smile was triumphant. My brother Marcus stood beside her, arms crossed, nodding like this was exactly what should happen. They thought they'd won. They thought they'd finally stopped me from making the biggest mistake of my life, marrying Jake without their approval. They had no idea that for the past 6 months, I'd been working with a forensic accountant, an elder law attorney, and a private investigator. They had no idea that every phone call, every threat, every manipulation was documented, time-stamped, and stored in a file that was currently sitting on a detective's desk downtown. And they definitely had no idea that the officer standing at my altar wasn't here to arrest me. He was here to arrest them. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start from the beginning, because you need to understand how we got here. How a wedding became a crime scene, and how the daughter they'd tried to destroy became the one who finally fought back. My name is Rachel Morgan. I'm 31 years old. And until 6 months ago, I believed my mother when she said she was protecting me. I grew up in Westchester County, New York. Upper middle-class suburb. Good schools. The kind of place where everyone's lawn is perfect and nobody talks about problems. My family looked perfect from the outside. Richard Morgan, my father, was a financial advisor. Respected. Well-connected. The kind of man who wore expensive suits and gave advice that people actually followed. My mother, Diane Morgan, didn't work. She managed the household, which meant managing appearances, making sure everything looked exactly right. And then there were the children. Marcus, my older brother, 3 years older than me. Harvard MBA. Investment banking. The golden child who could do no wrong. And me, Rachel, the daughter who never quite measured up. I wasn't stupid. Let me be clear about that. I graduated summa cum laude from Boston University. Got my master's in social work. Built a career helping families navigate crisis situations. But in my mother's eyes, I'd wasted my potential. "You could have gone to law school," she'd say. "You could have done something important." Social work paid $48,000 a year. Marcus made $400,000. In my mother's mind, that was all the evidence she needed that I'd failed. The controls started small. Phone calls every day. Checking in. Making sure I was okay. Surprise visits to my apartment. Inspecting. Commenting on the dishes in my sink. Advice about my clothes, my hair, my career choices, my friends. "It's not controlling," she'd say when I pushed back. "It's caring." That's what mothers do. But caring doesn't require a key to your adult daughter's apartment. Caring doesn't mean showing up unannounced and going through my mail. Caring doesn't mean calling my boss to check on me when I was 28 years old. I met Jake 3 years ago. He was a middle school teacher. $42,000 a year. Student loan debt. A 10-year-old Honda with a dent in the bumper. He was kind. Patient. The kind of person who genuinely cared about kids who fell through the cracks. I fell in love with him approximately 3 weeks after our first date. My mother hated him on sight. "He's not good enough for you," she said after meeting him once. "He has no ambition. No drive. You'll end up supporting him your whole life." "He's a teacher, Mom. He's not unemployed. Teachers don't make money." She said it like it was a moral failing. "You need someone successful. Someone who can provide." "I can provide for myself." Her expression went cold. "Rachel, I'm trying to protect you. But if you're determined to ruin your life, I can't stop you." That was the first time she said it. "If you marry him, you're on your own." I ignored her. Jake and I got engaged a year ago. Small proposal. Nothing fancy. Just him, me, and a ring he'd saved 6 months to buy. I posted a photo on Facebook. My mother called 30 minutes later. "You didn't tell us first," she said. "You posted it online for strangers before telling your own family. I tried to call you yesterday. You didn't answer. Because I was busy." She paused. "But that's always your excuse, isn't it? You're too busy for family. Too busy for the people who actually care about you." "Mom, I'm engaged." "I thought you'd be happy." "Happy?" Her voice rose. "You're marrying a man who makes less than a janitor. You're throwing away your future. And you want me to be happy?" The next 6 months were a masterclass in manipulation. My mother called constantly, crying, begging me to reconsider. Marcus called to tell me I was being selfish, that I was breaking our parents' hearts. My father, who usually stayed quiet, sent an email. Subject line, disappointed. The body was 3 sentences. "You've always made questionable choices. This is the worst one yet. Don't expect us at the wedding." But the real problem wasn't their disapproval. It was my grandmother. Catherine Morgan was my father's mother. 84 years old. Sharp as ever. Funny. Warm. The kind of woman who sent birthday cards with $20 bills inside and always remembered your favorite cookies. She lived in a beautiful house in Scarsdale. The same house where my father grew up. Worth about $2 million. She had money. A pension from my late grandfather's aerospace engineering career. Social Security. Investments. She was comfortable. Independent. And very, very clear about her estate plans. Catherine had told me years ago that she was leaving her house to me. Not to my father. Not split between the grandchildren. To me. "Because you're the one who visits," she'd said. "You're the one who calls. You're the one who actually cares about me, not my bank account." I'd laughed and told her not to think about that stuff. But she was serious. She'd updated her will when I was 27. Had her lawyer draw up everything. Ironclad. Legal. Clear. Upon her death, the house would go to me. My parents knew this. And they hated it. Before we continue, please subscribe to Family Secret TV and tell me in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is there. I see everything, and your support means the world to me. Thank you. 3 months before the wedding, things escalated. My mother started calling daily with the same message. "Your grandmother is worried about you. She thinks you're making a mistake." Grandma never said that. She's too polite to say it directly. But she's concerned. I called my grandmother. "Grandma, did you tell Mom you're worried about my wedding?" Catherine laughed. "Absolutely not. I think Jake is wonderful. Your mother is making things up again." Again. That word stayed with me. 2 months before the wedding, my mother called with a new strategy. "Your grandmother fell yesterday. She's fine, but she's getting older. She needs help." "Is she okay?" "She's fine. But I think it's time we talk about her living situation." "Her living situation is fine. She has a home health aide 3 days a week." "That's not enough." My mother's voice was firm. "She needs full-time care. A facility where she can be monitored." Grandma doesn't want to go to a facility. Rachel, she's 84. She doesn't know what she wants. I visited my grandmother that weekend. She was fine. No fall. No injury. No confusion. Just Catherine Morgan, 84 years old, doing the Sunday crossword and drinking Earl Grey tea like she'd done every Sunday for the past 40 years. "Grandma, did you fall?" "Fall?" She looked confused. "No. Where did you hear that?" "Mom said you fell. Said you needed more care." Catherine's expression hardened. "Your mother is circling like a vulture. She wants me in a facility so she can get power of attorney and sell this house before I'm cold." That's when I knew something was very wrong. I started paying closer attention. Noticed things I'd missed before. Like how my mother had keys to my grandmother's house. Like how she'd been helping with Catherine's bills for the past year. Like how she kept pushing for Catherine to add her name to the bank accounts, just in case of emergency. I hired someone. Patricia Voss. Forensic accountant. 56 years old. 30 years of experience tracking financial fraud. I also hired an elder law attorney. Samuel Chin. Specialized in protecting seniors from financial abuse. And just to be thorough, I hired a private investigator. His name was Dennis Riley. Former NYPD detective. 25 years on the force. I gave them everything. My mother's behavior. The pressure on my grandmother. The keys. The bank accounts. Patricia started digging into my grandmother's finances. What she found made my blood run cold. Over the past 18 months, approximately $87,000 had disappeared from my grandmother's accounts. Small withdrawals. 500 here. 1,000 there. Nothing big enough to trigger alerts. Just steady bleeding. The money went to an account my mother had opened in Catherine's name. But the address on the account was my parents' house. Catherine never saw the statements. My mother intercepted all the mail. But it got worse. Patricia found insurance policies my grandmother didn't know existed. Life insurance. $300,000. Beneficiary, Diane Morgan. Purchased 18 months ago with Catherine's money and Catherine's signature. Except the signature looked wrong. The handwriting was shaky and inconsistent. Patricia hired a forensic handwriting analyst. Verdict: forgery. My mother had forged my grandmother's signature on insurance documents worth $300,000. Samuel Chin reviewed everything and gave me the bad news. This is elder financial abuse. Clear-cut. Criminal. Your mother could go to prison. I sat in his office numb. We need to report this to Adult Protective Services. Probably the police too. What about my grandmother? Will she have to testify? Probably. But we'll protect her. Make sure she has support. And my mother? Samuel's expression was grim. Your mother has been systematically stealing from a vulnerable adult. The law doesn't take that lightly. I didn't tell my family what I discovered. Not yet. Instead, I documented everything. Dennis Riley followed my mother for 2 weeks. Photographed her going to the bank. Recorded her accessing my grandmother's safe deposit box. We installed security cameras in my grandmother's house. With her permission. And we caught my mother on camera. Going through Catherine's desk. Opening mail. Forging signatures on checks. All on video. All time-stamped. All stored securely. I wanted to confront her immediately. Samuel Chin talked me down. Let the investigation finish. Let Adult Protective Services get involved. Let the police build their case. If you confront her now, she'll destroy evidence. She'll gaslight your grandmother. She'll make this 10 times harder. So I waited. And I planned my wedding. The wedding was set for September 14th. Small ceremony. A church in Westchester. 200 guests. Nothing fancy. Just family and friends celebrating Jake and me starting our lives together. I sent my parents an invitation. They didn't RSVP. 1 week before the wedding, my mother called. We're not coming, she said. We can't support this mistake. That's your choice. And when you realize what you've done, when this marriage falls apart, don't come crying to us. I won't. I hung up. 3 days before the wedding, things came to a head. My mother called Adult Protective Services. She reported that I was financially exploiting my grandmother. That I'd isolated Catherine. That I was manipulating her to change her will. She said I was dangerous. Unstable. That someone needed to intervene. APS opened an investigation immediately. A caseworker named Linda Ramirez called me. Miss Morgan, we've received a complaint about your relationship with your grandmother, Catherine Morgan. We need to conduct an interview. I understand. When would you like to meet? We met 2 days later. I brought every document, every bank statement, every piece of evidence Patricia Voss had compiled. I brought the security camera footage. I brought the handwriting analysis. I brought everything. Linda Ramirez reviewed it all. Her expression grew darker with every page. "Miss Morgan," she said finally, "you're not under investigation. Your mother is." I nodded. "I've been working with a forensic accountant and an elder law attorney for 3 months. Everything is documented." "Have you reported this to the police?" "My attorney has been in contact with the Financial Crimes Unit. They're building a case." Linda was quiet for a moment. "Your mother filed a false report. That's a crime in itself." "I know. She also accused you of the exact crime she's been committing. That's called projection. Also know that." Linda closed the file. "I'm going to need to interview your grandmother. And I'll be referring this case to the district attorney's office." The day before my wedding, the police officially opened a criminal investigation. Detective Sarah Brennan, Financial Crimes Unit, 20 years on the force. She called me directly. "Miss Morgan, we've reviewed the evidence compiled by Patricia Voss and Samuel Chen. We'd like to move forward with charges against your mother." "Before the wedding?" "We can wait if you prefer. But I should warn you, your mother may escalate. She already filed a false APS report. Then she might do something worse." I thought about it. My wedding was tomorrow. My mother had already said she wasn't coming. What could she do? I told Detective Brennan to proceed. Looking back, I should have known better. My mother never went down without a fight. September 14th, wedding day. The church was beautiful. White flowers everywhere. Sunlight streaming through stained glass windows. Jake stood at the altar in a suit he'd borrowed from his brother because teachers don't buy fancy suits for weddings money. I walked down the aisle in a dress I'd found at a sample sale. Ivory lace. Simple. Perfect. My father wasn't there to walk me down the aisle. My friend Maria did it instead. My maid of honor. The woman who'd been there through everything. 200 guests. Friends from work. Jake's family. My grandmother Catherine in the front row, beaming. No Marcus. No Diane. No Richard. Exactly as I'd expected. The ceremony began. The pastor started speaking. Something about love and commitment and building a life together. Jake and I exchanged glances. Smiling. This was it. This was really happening. Then the church doors burst open. My mother stood in the doorway. Diane Morgan, 58 years old, wearing a black dress like she was attending a funeral. Marcus stood right behind her. Every head turned. The pastor stopped mid-sentence. My mother walked down the aisle like she owned the place. "Stop," she said. Her voice echoed through the church. "This wedding cannot happen." The room was completely silent. Jake's hand tightened on mine. My mother reached the altar. "My daughter is not of sound mind," she announced to 200 witnesses. "She's being manipulated. She's stolen money from her grandmother. This marriage is a fraud designed to access my mother's estate." She pulled out her phone. "I'm calling the police." Grandma Catherine stood up from the front pew. "Diane, sit down. You're making a fool of yourself." My mother ignored her. She dialed 911. "Put the phone on speaker so everyone could hear." "Yes, I need police at St. Michael's Church on Prospect Avenue. There's a situation. My daughter is holding my mother hostage, and I believe she's stolen over $100,000. The 911 operator asked questions. My mother answered each one. Confident. Certain. Righteous. "She's unstable. She needs psychiatric evaluation. She's dangerous." Jake looked at me. "Rachel, what is she talking about?" Before I could answer, 2 police officers walked into the church. They must have been nearby. Maybe a traffic stop. Maybe on patrol. They walked down the aisle. My mother pointed at me. "That's her. That's the one who's been stealing from my mother." One officer, a young guy who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else, approached me at the altar. "Ma'am," he said quietly, "I need you to come with me. We have some questions about financial elder abuse." My mother's smile was pure triumph. 200 guests watched in complete silence. This was it. This was her final play. Destroy my wedding. humiliate me in front of everyone, prove once and for all that I was the problem. Except she'd made one critical mistake. She assumed I hadn't prepared for this exact scenario. I reached into my bouquet. Not flowers. A folder. Waterproof sleeve. Documents inside. I handed it to the officer. Before you arrest anyone, you should call Detective Sarah Brennan. Financial Crimes Unit. Her card is in there. Along with case number 2024, FC 8847. The officer looked confused. He opened the folder. Inside, Detective Brennan's business card. A case summary. Bank records showing the theft. Copies of the forged insurance documents. And photographs of my mother on security cameras stealing from my grandmother. The officer's expression changed. He looked at my mother, then back at me. "Ma'am," he said carefully, "I think you should stay right here." He pulled out his radio. "This is Unit 12. I need Detective Brennan at St. Michael's Church. Prospect Avenue. Possible arrest situation." My mother's smile faltered. "What are you doing?" She looked at the officer. "I'm the one who called. She's the criminal." The officer didn't answer. He was reading the documents I'd provided. My mother turned to me. "What did you do?" "I protected Grandma," I said quietly. "From you." Detective Brennan arrived 10 minutes later. She walked into the church like she'd expected this. Probably because she had. I'd told her 2 days ago that my mother might try something. She'd told me to stay calm and let her handle it. Sarah Brennan was 52 years old. 20 years in financial crimes. She'd seen every con, every manipulation, every family member stealing from vulnerable adults. She walked straight to my mother. "Diane Morgan?" My mother straightened. "Finally. Someone reasonable. My daughter has been." "Ma'am, you're under arrest for financial elder abuse, forgery, and filing a false report." The church erupted. Gasps. Murmurs. My mother's face went completely white. "This is insane. I didn't do anything." "She's the one." Detective Brennan pulled out handcuffs. "You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law." My mother looked around wildly. "Marcus, do something." Marcus stood frozen in the aisle. For once in his life, the golden child had no idea what to do. As Detective Brennan led my mother toward the door, Catherine stood up again. Her voice was strong. Clear. "Diane, you've been stealing from me for 18 months. Forging my signature. Isolating me. And you filed false charges against Rachel to cover your tracks." She paused. "I hope they throw the book at you." My mother was escorted out in handcuffs. Marcus followed. Trying to explain. Trying to bargain. The church doors closed behind them. 200 guests sat in stunned silence. The pastor cleared his throat. "Well," he said, "that was unexpected. Shall we continue?" Jake looked at me. "Did you just get your mother arrested at our wedding?" I looked at him. "Yes. Is that a deal breaker?" He started laughing. "Not even a little bit. We finished the ceremony." I do. "You may kiss the bride." And we did. 200 guests erupted in applause. Not just because we got married. Because justice had been served at the same time. The reception was the best party I'd ever been to. Everyone had the same question. "Did you know she was going to show up?" "I suspected she might try something," I said. "So I prepared." "How long have you been investigating?" 6 months. People looked at me with new respect. The quiet social worker who never made waves had just taken down her own mother in front of 200 witnesses. Grandma Catherine gave a toast. "To my granddaughter," she said, "who is smarter, braver, and kinder than anyone gave her credit for." She looked at me with tears in her eyes. "Your mother tried to destroy you. Instead, you saved me." If you've made it this far, hit that like button if you think Diane got what she deserved. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Now let's finish this story. The legal process took 8 months. My mother was charged with financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult, forgery, Insurance fraud. Filing a false police report. Her lawyer tried to negotiate. Offered to pay everything back. Community service. Probation. The DA wasn't interested. This wasn't a mistake. This was calculated. Systematic. Predatory. Your client stole from her own mother-in-law. Forged documents. Then tried to frame her daughter for the exact crimes she committed. We're going to trial. The trial was devastating. Patricia Voss testified about the $87,000. The handwriting analyst testified about the forged insurance documents. Dennis Riley presented security camera footage of my mother going through Catherine's desk. Adult Protective Services testified about the false report. And I testified about years of control, years of manipulation, years of being told I wasn't good enough, about my mother's obsession with money and status, about her fury when she realized she wouldn't inherit Catherine's house. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. Sentencing came 2 months later. The judge was not sympathetic. Mrs. Morgan, you systematically stole from a woman who welcomed you into her family. You exploited her trust. You forged her signature. You isolated her from the one person who actually cared about her well-being. And when your crimes were discovered, you tried to destroy your own daughter to cover your tracks. He paused. This court has no tolerance for financial elder abuse. For years in prison. Full restitution of $87,000 plus interest. Permanent restraining order preventing contact with Catherine Morgan. And a felony conviction that would follow her forever. My mother screamed when the sentence came down. This isn't fair. I was protecting my family. The judge didn't respond. The bailiff led her away. Marcus sat in the gallery. Silent. Pale. He'd testified for the defense. Said our mother would never steal. Said I must have misunderstood. The jury didn't believe him. After the trial, Marcus tried to talk to me. Rachel, I didn't know. I swear I didn't know what she was doing. I looked at my brother. You knew she was controlling. You knew she was manipulative. You just didn't care because you weren't the target. That's not fair. You called me selfish for getting engaged. You said I was breaking their hearts. You stood by her when she tried to destroy my wedding. I thought she was right. No, I said. You thought it was easier to agree with her than to think for yourself. I walked away. Some relationships aren't worth saving. My father never apologized. Never reached out. Never acknowledged what happened. He just quietly divorced my mother while she was in prison. Moved to Florida. Remarried within a year. Sent me a wedding announcement. I threw it away. Grandma Catherine lived another 3 years. Beautiful years. Free from my mother's manipulation. She traveled. She laughed. She baked cookies and sent birthday cards with $20 bills. She died peacefully in her sleep at 87. And yes, she left me the house. Just like she'd always planned. Jake and I live there now. We renovated the kitchen. Updated the bathrooms. Turned the 3rd bedroom into an office. It's worth about $2.4 million now. But that's not why it matters. It matters because it's home. Because my grandmother trusted me to protect it. Because every room holds memories of Sunday afternoons and Earl Grey tea and a woman who loved me unconditionally. My mother got out of prison after serving 3 years. Good behavior. She tried to contact me once. Sent a letter. Return address from a halfway house in Buffalo. Dear Rachel, it began. I've had time to think about what I did. I want you to know I'm sorry. I read it once. Then I threw it away. Some apologies come too late to matter. Marcus and I haven't spoken in 4 years. He sends Christmas cards. Generic ones. Wishing you joy and peace. I don't respond. Some bridges burn for a reason. People ask me sometimes if I feel guilty. For getting my mother arrested. For testifying against her. For destroying my family. The answer is no. Not even a little. Because here's the truth. I didn't destroy my family. I protected the person who couldn't protect herself. I stopped a crime that was happening every single day. And I refused to be gaslit into thinking I was the problem. My mother didn't go to prison because I was vindictive. She went to prison because she committed crimes. She stole $87,000. She forged legal documents. She filed false police reports. Those were her choices, not mine. The wedding arrest was just the moment everyone else saw what I'd known for months. That my mother valued money more than people. That she'd sacrifice anyone to get what she wanted. That she'd been willing to destroy her own daughter to cover her tracks. Some truths need witnesses. That day, I had 200. Jake and I just celebrated our 5th anniversary. We went back to St. Michael's Church. Stood in the same spot where we got married. Where my mother got arrested. Where everything changed. Remember when you asked if getting your mother arrested was a deal breaker? I said. Jake laughed. Best wedding story I've ever heard. We have kids now. Twin girls. 3 years old. They'll never meet their grandmother Diane. They'll never hear her voice or feel her manipulation. They'll grow up knowing they're enough. Exactly as they are. That's my gift to them. Last year, I got a message from one of the wedding guests. An old college friend named Beth. She said, "I've been thinking about your wedding day. About how brave you were. About how you stood up for your grandmother when everyone told you not to rock the boat." She paused. My mother has been acting strange lately. Controlling my finances. Pressuring me to change my will. I think something's wrong. I gave her Patricia Voss's number. Sometimes the best thing you can do is teach someone else to protect themselves. Elder financial abuse is more common than people realize. Experts estimate that 5 to 10% of older adults experience it. Often from family members. Often from people who are supposed to love them. My grandmother was lucky. She had someone who noticed. Someone who investigated. Someone who fought back. Not everyone does. If this story resonates with you, if you've ever watched a family member exploit someone vulnerable, I want you to know something. You're not crazy for noticing. You're not dramatic for speaking up. You're not betraying your family by protecting someone who can't protect themselves. You're doing the right thing, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Thank you so much for watching. If this story meant something to you, hit that subscribe button and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Have you ever had to stand up to your own family to protect someone else? Tell me your story in the comments. And if you want more stories like this, stories about people who chose courage over comfort, check out the videos on your screen right now. Until next time, remember, sometimes the bravest thing you can do is call the police on someone you love. Even if it's at your own wedding. Especially if it's at your own wedding.